Hey there, Richard from No Pants Profits, and welcome back, or welcome to the No Pants Profits channel. Now, we're generally talking about financial stuff on this channel, but I am right now on the Odyssey of the Seas, one of the newest ships from Royal Caribbean, and you know, the newer one, I wonder what its name is, but I think the big question that I have coming on this ship, this is my first time on a Odyssey class, or that's not the name, Quantum class ship, or this is actually called a Quantum Plus class ship, and the title's not clickbait. Is it better than Oasis? I think that's the loaded question. That's a loaded question. Is it better than Oasis of the Seas? I'm going to give you an honest answer. I'm talking about Oasis class, Oasis, Harmony, Allure, Wonder, all of those. Yes, it is. It has more of a small ship feel, has a old-timey kind of ship feel. We're going to go through, we're going to do a tour. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks, show you the whole ship, show you how it's weird, show you how the worst thing about this ship is the elevators. By far, the worst thing about this ship is the elevators. And if that's the worst thing I have to complain about, then I think we're in for a relatively good tour. And I like to start off every one of these ship tours exactly where you get on board, because I think that's important to give you some bearings and give you an idea of where everything is. So we're going to talk about the DNA of the ship, talk where you board and everything like that, but let's go ahead and talk, well, where do you get on board? So this is deck 5, and this is the actual doorway you come through from the terminal to get on board, and you'll see that they've painted a giant Royal Caribbean logo right here. So you know you're on a Royal Caribbean ship. These doors will generally be open, and I was actually very surprised that they had a balloon arch. I don't know if it's something they can use over multiple cruises, but they did have a balloon arch that you went through right when you got through here. And this is called the Royal Esplanade. Now, it's not called the Royal Promenade. I think that's an interesting thing, is that it's not called the Royal Promenade. I do want to show you the sign for it, because it is called the Royal Esplanade, and it's not called a Royal Promenade for a reason, because they don't really use this venue to do events. If you've been on other Royal Caribbean ships before, they'll have that big area in the middle of the ship that's got a big bridge that goes up and down. Even non-Oasis class, the older ship, has a big bridge that goes up and down. They're doing their dance parties. They're doing everything on there. This ship lacks that really long hallway. This ship lacks a giant car, a giant piece of art in the middle. It's kind of interesting that it lacks those things, but it has a different DNA to it. Kind of feels like the older Royal Caribbean ships meeting, personally, because I worked on them for many years, the Celebrity Solstice class of ships. And if you see this tour and you see walking around this tour, you're gonna go, yeah, that don't make sense. So where we are right now, this is called the Royal Esplanade. And yes, from this angle, it'll look like Oasis, Allure, all those other ships like that. But here's what makes it different. You'll notice that right here, I'll point up to the ceiling, where you would have a inside, what do they call it? Royal Promenade staterooms. You don't have them. And right here, literally, it's like the same shape as the Rising Tides Bar. The Rising Tides Bar is not there. Well, because there is no Rising Tides Bar on this ship. Then we've got the Shore Excursions department. I am a big fan of, if you have time in port, do not book with the Shore Excursions team on board. Now, why do I say don't book with the Shore Excursions team on board? Because generally, especially in the Caribbean, they're going to get you back to the boat on time. You don't have to worry about that. Plus, when you book locally, find a local tour operator and pay them, they're getting most, if not all, of the money. If you buy with the cruise lines are taking a lot of the money. And here's the important thing. It's going to cost you almost double. I was not on Royal Caribbean about a week and a half ago. I did an ATV excursion in Dominica, was on the Valiant Lady, did a shore excursion in Dominica of the Dominican Republic, and we did an ATV. It was $90 a person. The ship wanted $250 for the same exact tour. So when you do the same tour for $90 or $250, save your money and get yourself a drink package or something like that instead. Now, we happen to be walking towards the Bionic Bar, but I want to talk about something right here that was, other than the elevators, probably the second biggest disappointment of this cruise. Voom, the fastest internet at sea. It is dog poo-poo. Total dog poo-poo. It is slow. I have a gentleman right off camera shaking his head.
Very, very slow.
This is what you call false advertising. You know the great thing, though? You know where the cruise ships are registered? In Liberia. So you can't sue them for false advertising. Wow. But yes, Voom is not the fastest internet at sea. I will tell you right now, the Virgin Voyages ships, specifically the Scarlet Lady, actually has the fastest internet at sea. But you'll see Voom per device per day. So if you wanted 4 devices per device per day, Yeah, that gets real expensive real quick. And it is, for most of the day, it's pretty much dial-up. If you need to get any work done on board, you want to get that work done about 9 o'clock at night. Why do you want to get that work done about 9 o'clock at night? You want to get that work done about 9 o'clock at night because everyone's at dinner, you know, between 8 and 10 o'clock at night, everyone's at dinner or the show. They're watching dinner, eating dinner, watching the show, and the crew are all working at that time. If you wait until later in the evening, everyone goes, ooh, use the internet later in the evening, it's better. No, it's not. Because all the crew are on the internet later in the evening. So the magic trick is when dinner and shows are going on at the same time, between 8 and 10 o'clock p.m., or early in the morning, 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't mean late at night, not after midnight, not at 2, not at 3, because that's when the crew are calling home. But that's when you want to be online. Now, I will tell you the Odyssey of the Seas is supposedly getting updated with Starlink that will make it better. It will not make it good, and the reason why is because Royal Caribbean uses far too many legacy systems, far too many older systems on board that the internet has to pass through, whether or not it's good or not. So even you can take the best internet in the world and you put it through these systems that are essentially breaking down, which, yes, this is a one-year-old ship, but it's got to support really old Microsoft DOS systems, believe it or not. But we're on deck 5. We're right by the Voom, and next up, we've got the Bionic Bar. So this is from a company called Maker Shaker, and what it is it's some robots. And these robots will actually make drinks for you. And you'll see there's a little bit of a line right now, and why there's a little bit of a line is because they only have one iPad. On Oasis class ships, they have about 7 iPads you can order from on Oasis class ships. I have no idea why this ship has 1 or 2 iPads. There are tables set up for multiple iPads, but it creates a very, very long line with people customizing drinks. But I'll show you the robots right here, because they should be working. One of them is, at least. But yeah, what you're doing is you're cutting efficiency because you've only got a single iPad out now and a line of about 7 people waiting to use the iPad. And if you do look at the queue, it does say there are 30 drinks in queue. There are not 30 drinks in queue because this robot's not even working right now. Well, it's not making anything right now. And the other problem with this venue, unlike the Oasis class, is it is out in the middle of the open. And you might say, well, why does that matter? It's out in the middle of the open. It's not recessed. A second iPad just came to me. But there's never been more than 2 iPads for this entire sailing. It's out in the middle of the open. And what happens is that sets off sensors on the robots all the time. And I'll show you the sensor real quick without tripping it. But you got this sensor right here, that big black bar. What that is that's a sensor to make sure that the robot is not going to hit you, that the robot's not moving around and it's not going to hit you. But like I said, the queue is still sitting at 30 drinks to be made, but there's really like no drinks in line. I don't want to set off the robot arm there and make him angry. But makes your drinks an important thing. It is included on the beverage package. You can buy both alcoholic and non-alcoholic drinks here. Now, technically speaking, when you do tap your little magic card, it does ask you to actually verify your year of birth, and you do have to be at least 18 to order here. Although, again, you can order mocktails, you can order Shirley Temples, you can order everything like that. We did a whole video on the Bionic Bar earlier in the cruise where we saw just how many drinks you could do in an hour and where that would get you blood alcohol-wise. We might stop by here for a drink a little bit later if it quiets down. So, moving on from the Bionic Bar, there's something very interesting that Royal has decided to do on their ships, and they've rolled it out slowly, and it's something that's been very apparent here. If you know anything about the cruise ship industry, they're more and more focused on suites nowadays, because suites bring in a large percentage of the revenue. Suites are about 10% of the cabins, but the total booking revenue, they bring in 30-40% of the total booking revenue on board. Problem is, these cruise ships are selling out of suites very quickly because they're, again, about 10% of what's going on. When they're building new ships, they're adding more suites. When they're building new ships, they're adding more suites. When they're building new ships, they're adding more suites. But you can't really do it with existing ships, so here's what you do. The suites have their own restaurant called the Coastal Kitchen. What happens is you have specialty restaurants you've had for a long time that people can pay for. But today it is a sea day, so it is the final sea day of the cruise. It's about lunchtime, so we're going to walk around all the different restaurants and stuff like that. But what you'll notice is they have a whole bunch of a la carte and upcharge restaurants to allow normal guests to have a suite-like experience. It's an upcharge gating experience, and it actually works out pretty well in the scheme of things. to be perfectly honest. But this is Azumi, which we're going to walk through Azumi, which is their sushi restaurant. It is a pay-per-item restaurant. And that is Azumi sushi, Japanese cuisine. So it's pretty much everything Japanese except hibachi. They do have hibachi upstairs. So they have mochi here. They have other things like that. But it is a Japanese... He's talking about the mochi right now. All right. So next up, we've got the Schooner Bar. The Schooner Bar is usually busy when there's trivia, which is earlier in the evening. And later in the evening in the Schooner Bar, you've actually got a piano player most evenings. So there is a permanent piano player that is in the Schooner Bar. And that permanent piano player, not playing right now, they're doing trivia, they're getting ready for something here. That permanent piano player plays for majority of the nights of the cruise. And then there is an additional piano player that will play this bar for one night of every cruise. Now, that piano player gives this piano player a break. So this piano player is usually playing right here.
Where it began, that's it to know it, but then I know it's going strong. Was it the spring? But spring became the summer. Who'd have believed you'd come along? Help me out now. Touching her, reaching out, touching me, and touching you. Sweet Caroline, say, a good time never seems so good. I've been inclined, say it, to believe that they never would, but now they...
That piano player, the secondary piano player, usually plays around the ship on pianos, in elevators, and in random spaces of the sort.
It was in the Navy and had fleas? That's Fleas Navidad?
Feliz Navidad. My dad was in the Navy and had fleas.
Okay.
Feliz Navidad. I need you to do this.
Say less, I got you.
And I need you to do...
Cowbell? More cowbell?
You need more time. Put your hand around that. And your left hand and right hand. Your left hand. Okay, stick right hand around, muffle it. Okay, ready? All right. All right, this is a new band. We're called Two Chicks and a Dude.
So that piano player actually covers it once. Now, here's another area of the ship that's actually really busy, and a lot of people will go, hey, why do cruise ships still have formal nights? The reason cruise ships still have formal nights is literally right on the other side right now. This is the photo gallery. This is the reason that the cruise ships still have formal nights. This photo gallery would not exist without formal nights because mommy and daddy finally get the kids together, put the kids in a little button-up shirt, and say, oh, we need our family photo every single year. That's why the ships still try and have formal nights. For example, I'll give you, Virgin Voyages does not have formal nights. They have a red night, but they do not have photographers on board either. Most cruise ships photographers are third-party vendors. This one's actually called the Image Group, and they make a majority, 80 to 90% of the money they make. This ship might be a little bit less, and I'll explain to you why in a second, but 80 to 90% of the money they make is formal night photos. Kind of interesting, but it's formal night photos. 80 to 90% of the money they make. It's a little bit less here because they have skydiving, which we are definitely going to go up and see the skydiving later, but they have skydiving and they sell photos of the skydiving. Now, the next place we have here on deck 5. As we're going forward, we'll go aft in a minute. Next place we have is the Royal Theater. Now this theater, what's very interesting is unlike Oasis class, you do not need any reservations to the shows in this theater. Also, unlike Oasis class, there is a different show in the theater every single evening. If you've been in Oasis class, Oasis, Allure, Anthem, Wonder, any of those like that, what you got is you've got their Broadway production, be it Hairspray, be it Cats, be it Chicago. You've got those productions, you have to get a ticket, and those will play the first 3 nights of the cruise. So the first 3 nights of the cruise, it's the same show every night. You can get a ticket to see it once. Now they do have a venue like that on board this ship, which we're gonna go to in a few minutes, that is very, very, very similar in nature. But this is not that. You do need a reservation for only one show on board this ship, which is in the 270 venue, which we will go to in a minute. But this is the main Royal Theater, is on deck 5 and on deck 4. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go down to deck 4 now. So we're going to traverse down the stairs. Again, I want to avoid the elevators as much as possible because I can clearly say the elevators and the Wi-Fi are the worst part of the Odyssey of the Seas, which is a Quantum Plus class ship. But when we get towards the elevators, we will talk about the elevators. So we've got the theater here again. They're doing some rehearsal right now, and now we've got kind of an interesting perspective. This is deck 4. And if you've ever been on the Celebrity Solstice class of ships, this is gonna look super familiar. I'm actually gonna walk you both ways up and down here because I walked on, I'm like, am I in reflection? Silhouette, Eclipse, Equinox, Solstice, because this really does look just like the shop area on, I think it is on deck 4 on Celebrity as well, but it's got a slightly different layout. It looks identical to the Solstice class from Celebrity Cruises. So let me walk you this way. And you'll see you've got a row of shops right here. You've got all the different shops. You've got, now, if you're used to the Solstice class, off on the left would generally be the casino, which you go off to the left is not the casino right now, because the casino is actually hidden very low on this ship, because the ship is built very, very differently. On most ships you have 3 sets of elevators. On this ship you only have 2 sets of elevators. You've got a forward and you've got a midship elevator, which they advertise as an aft elevator. But like I said, I do want to walk you down this another way, different perspective, so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. This does look very, 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 very much like a Celebrity Solstice class ship. And then off to the right, you would generally have a casino. Well, where you'd have the casino, what is off to the right here? And what is off to the right here is something called the Music Hall. This is a multi-purpose venue. This is where they do their game shows and different things every night. It spans multiple floors. This is also the ship's nightclub. So you'll see we've got a Mac desktop background. We got some dancing and stuff going on there. But you have 2 different levels of bars. Both of the bars actually have taps. And they have here is also where they have the pool. They also have pool in one other place. I'm not talking about the pool you swim in. I'm talking about the pool that you play. So you've got pool here. These do not seem to be them fancy pool tables. Nope. These are normal pool tables. So when the ship's rocking, don't go and knocking your pool balls, because these are not the kind of tables that are self-leveling that you can actually play pool in rough seas with. But you've got, they're doing game shows here. This is where they also do karaoke on all nights except the last night of the cruise. So all nights except the last night of the cruise, this is where they're doing karaoke. On the last night, we'll get to where they're doing karaoke in a minute. But we'll see right here, we've got the Music Hall, which is an additional venue, an additional entertainment venue, but it's mainly used for bands, karaoke, game shows, things of that sort. And a really fun touch they have up here is that you can actually see what's going on downstairs from upstairs, because they always have a live camera view of what's going on downstairs. So even if you're sitting at the bar right here, like I was last night, drinking some Heineken, you've got a screen that'll show you what's going on with Battle of the Sexes or any other event that may be going on at that specific point in time. Quite cool, really interesting venue, fully kitted out with lighting, and you'll see we've got the DJ booth right here as well, which moves around the ship. They do DJ multiple different places on board, but we've got that right there. This venue does fill up though. If you are not here about half an hour before an event, you're not getting a seat, which makes it very hard when you're going between dinner and the show, and they're trying to do it between dinner and the show, and between the two shows and everything like that. It's very hard to get a seat at the game shows that happen in the music hall. Now, the next thing we've got is actually kind of a staple on the boulevards, or the Royal, trying to remember the name of it, the big boulevards on the ship, and this is the pub. So we got the pub right here. Again, included in the beverage package. So if you do have the beverage package, this is the place where you will find the best beers on board. Well, yeah, that's it. This is the place you'll find the most unique beers on board, including, can I get a Paulander?
Paulander, how do you like it? With a glass?
Just the bottle. Including the Paulander wheat beer, which is one of my absolute favorites. I do like the Doppelbock Salvador better, but you don't have the Doppelbock Salvador on here, so this is probably the best drink you're going to get if you have your beverage package. You get a Paulander wheat beer. And everything, all the keys are RFID here, so the nice thing is you don't have to worry about demagnetizing your key. Now, it's hard to open doors, press buttons and things with a beer, so Richard's first random alcoholic task of the cruise. Okay, about half of it. But what you'll see here is you've got a stage here, and they have a guitar player that plays most nights. Gets people real excited, dancing, singing, hooting, hollering, all those other things. He's playing more modern songs than old style pub songs, but quite a talented guitar player. His name is Daniel currently. This is December of 2022. But like I said, you've got all the fancy shops, all the shops down here. You've got a jewelry store. You've got your liquor store. You've got all these other jewelry, liquor, beauty, watches. I don't think anybody understands that the Apple Watch is now the #1 selling watch in the world, and traditional watches are kind of sad. If I can't see a watch that tells me what's going on in the world, I personally don't want to use that watch. But I came across something very interesting on the first day at sea. We're on the second day at sea right now, but on the first day of sea, I came across something really interesting. What did I come across? I came across a shop that was not like any shop I've seen before, because the port and shopping guide was actually in the shop promoting the shops on board. And you're like, hey Rich, that's kind of crazy. Because the port and shopping guide is the person who tells you how to shop outside. Then you have the shops on board too. Here's what's really unique on this ship and on a few Royal Caribbean ships. They actually have an Effie shop on board that is run by Effie. Effie is a very big jewelry company. They are based in New York City, but they also are based all over the Caribbean. That's where people are generally buying from Effie, tax and duty free. What's cool, unique, interesting, is that they've actually got an Effie store on board the ship that is run by Effie and not the shops itself. And being run by Effie, what that allows them to do is that allows them to use the port and shopping guide to promote onboard shopping, which is kind of weird, kind of insane, kind of something I've never seen before. Because you can use your VIP card, like you'd use from outside if you've ever been on Royal Caribbean or any of the ships that have a port and shopping guide. You can use it in the fine jewelry shop, which is run by Effie. Kind of a weird but true thing. Not run by the same company that runs the shops on board. And again, something I've never actually seen before. Now, you have two places, well, at least two places I know of on board to get pizza. You've got the free pizza place, and you've got the paid pizza place. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at both of them. But the free pizza place is right here in the middle of the Royal Esplanade. I remembered the word from before. The other ships have a Royal Promenade. This has a Royal Esplanade. This is called Sorrento's. This is the included pizza place, and back in the day, before, as we call it, before the illness, this was open 24 hours a day. Currently, it is not open 24 hours a day. It's open from about noon, 11:30 until 3 a.m. So you see the hours of operation right there. And they've just got pizzas and salads and things like that. Pepperoni, cheese, vegetable, and then a special pizza each day. They had a meat lovers pizza, they had a chicken and bacon pizza, and other things like that. But this is Sorrento's, which is the pizza place, and this is just traditional cruise ship pizza. But there is a higher end pizza place we're going to take a look at in a few minutes time. And this being a Royal Caribbean ship, they do have a partnership with Starbucks. So you've got your Starbucks here in the Royal Esplanade. And Starbucks is not, I want to say again, is not included with any beverage package. So if you do have a beverage package, Starbucks is not included with any of the beverage packages, even the most premium beverage package, because they have some fixed and variable cost to running a Starbucks on board, so they have to pass that cost along to you. That's the only thing not included in the beverage package. You've got the robot bartenders, you've got any of the beers you want and other things like that. But there is a place that is still open 24 hours a day other than room service called Cafe Promenade, which is interesting because it's not in the Promenade, it's in the Esplanade. So shouldn't that be Cafe Esplanade? So all I'm saying. Cafe Promenade and the Promenade, Cafe Esplanade and the Esplanade. I guess it costs too much to make a new sign for Cafe Promenade, but this is open 24 hours a day. They've got some fruits, they've got some sandwiches, and all of this is actually coming from 270, which we'll go to in a few minutes. But this is very similar items than you can get at 270, which if you're familiar with the Oasis, the Allure, the Quantum, is their version of the Central Park Cafe. Again, kind of interesting. If you walk around here, very similar to a Royal Promenade on the Royal ships, and literally right where you would generally find the Rising Tide Bar. We're now down here on deck 4, right where you'd find the Rising Tide Bar, which would go from the Royal Promenade all the way up to Central Park. There's no Central Park on this ship. You've got the exact shape of the Rising Tide Bar. Kind of makes me laugh that the exact shape of the Rising Tide Bar is here. Then you've got the port and shopping desk. Now, port and shopping. What's the point of port and shopping? It's get you to buy stuff off the ship generally, or in that Effie store right there. Remember, here's the important thing. I'm going to give you a dirty secret. If you go out in port and you want to get the best price on something, do not get your port and shopping VIP card. Because when you get that, they have to pay a commission. You're staying in a local hotel on the island. You don't have to give the hotel name or anything like that. Say you're staying in a local hotel, you're going to get a better price. Because again, they don't have to give a commission to the Port and Shopping Guide company, which is run by Effie now. So they don't have to actually give them a commission if you're not a passenger on a cruise ship. So you'll get a better price without the VIP card than you will with it. And then next up, you've got guest services, which has a really cool modern look. Most of the stuff that's in guest services has become self-service nowadays with an app and everything like that is available to use. And then we've got one more location here on the Royal Esplanade, which is Boleros, which is generally the Spanish language bar, but right now they're using it for the art auction. So you've got the art auction going on right now. Well, getting set up for the art auction from Park West. I will tell you, I would never do business with that company. Just before you buy any art with Park West, just Google Park West, and not the stuff that they make, but some things that they've done to people in the past. Not a great company to really do business with there. Also, right below the entire Royal Esplanade, you've got the casino. We're not going to step into the whole casino, but we'll go down to the casino real quick. I was playing a Texas Hold'em tournament right before this. So, you got the casino right down here. So they're doing a slot tournament right now. So, yeah, they're doing a slot tournament right now. But they keep it very segregated in a good way. Just like we're going to talk about the kids program a little bit later. They keep it very segregated, and by keeping it very segregated, it keeps the smoke away. Now, let's talk about main dining. So we're going to go up, we're going to see some of the specialty dining in a little bit, but let's talk about main dining. This we're walking to is the main dining room. It is right outside of the Royal Esplanade, not Promenade, so I'm not sure why there's a Cafe Promenade. And this is the main dining room, which spans deck 3 and 4 in what many would consider the center of the ship. This ship does not really have an aft for a very, 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 very specific reason, but in what many would consider the center of the ship. So we're right here. Deck 4 is the anytime dining, and deck 3 is your fixed seating dining, which has an early dining and a late dining. But this is in the dead center of the boat, not in the back of the boat, which is one of those interesting things. You might go, why is it in the dead center of the boat? Because if you've been on any other ships before, you've got it all the way in the back. On the Oasis class ships, you've got the diving shows, and right below the diving show is actually where the dining room is, inside, of course. Right below the diving show is where that happens to be. This is in the midship elevators. And since we have a map of the ship right now, let me show you something. If I show you this, you'll see that you've got two sets of elevators. These green things right here. I'll use my beer bottle as a spare hand. So you've got two sets of elevators. What you've got is you've got all this area back here that you actually can't access via elevators very easily, and that's because there's some wide open spaces up there that don't really allow for an elevator shaft to go all the way up. So there is only two sets, technically three sets because one of the sets has two sides, but there's only two elevator banks on board. I'm not talking about two elevator shafts, but two elevator banks on board, which actually makes it really, really, really difficult to get an elevator. So we've taken a look at the dining room. What I want to do is I want to actually go back up to deck number 5. So we're going to take the stairs back up to deck number 5, and we're going to go back. So I want to give you a bit of an idea of where we are. We are leaving the dining room, and where we're going to actually go back to is we're going to go back to where we came on the ship. Because we've walked around a little bit, we've seen the photo gallery, we've seen other things like that. But we're going back to where we actually came on the ship, which is right up here, where the balloon arch was and everything welcoming us on board. And this is where we came on. Now, right next to where we came on is a restaurant called Wonderland, which they cover up what Wonderland says. It is Wonderland Imaginative Cuisine. This is probably the most unique restaurant on board. They've got 4 unique cocktails. Unfortunately, trust me, I'm very positive on this ship, but I will tell you, I do like Oasis class more because Oasis class actually has a bar you can go to inside of Wonderland, even when you're not dining there. This Wonderland does not have a separate bar you can go to when you are not dining there. So be aware of that. Be very aware of that. If you want your Wonderland drinks, you must have a Wonderland reservation. Again, since it is a sea day today, Wonderland is open for lunch with the same food that they normally have for dinner. Now, we've been talking about the Royal Esplanade, the Royal Promenade, the Royal whatever they want to call it. And if we go look here, well, here it is. Thing is, this does not stretch the entire ship. We looked at where the shops were, looked at where that all was, but again, this does not stretch the entire ship. There's a whole back half of the ship, and you might go, well, Rich, what is in the back? And that's what we're going to talk about right now. What's in the back? What's in the back is a great place for breakfast, a performance venue, other stuff like that. On the Oasis class, it's what you would almost call a neighborhood on its own. So you've got a neighborhood on its own, unlike on the Oasis class. We've got a neighborhood on its own. And we're right in the midship elevator shaft right now. And if we look up, Got a nice big piece of art. And we are walking on deck number 5. So walking on deck number 5 here, we've got another of the specialty restaurants on board, but this specialty restaurant has kind of an interesting secret that a lot of people don't know. Now, on most ships, Giovanni's or Jamie's Kitchen or one of those like that is an Italian specialty restaurant where you pay like $30 a person to go to, and you can get as much from the menu as you want for $30 a person. Now, I myself would not go to Giovanni. Now, Giovanni's has some really interesting pizza. Right after I do this tour, I myself wouldn't take the whole family to Giovanni's because, you know, you're going to cost $200 to take everybody to Giovanni's. So what's cool that you can do instead is Giovanni's Italian Kitchen and Wine Bar. And when the main restaurant is open, you can actually order lunch food a la carte. So individual pieces a la carte you can order from the Giovanni's Wine Bar. So I'll just give you an idea. Yeah. And the guy already knows me here, so he opened a glass, and now I got to do one of these. I got to finish the Paulander real quick because I can't triple fist while holding this camera. So the best sangria on board you're going to get here. But let me continue with the a la carte menu options, because what's really cool is you actually don't have to make a reservation to go to Giovanni's. You can actually go ahead and just come here whenever it's available on the app, which is generally when Giovanni's is open, and on sea days a little bit longer. And you can get a la carte a lot of the items from Giovanni's, including what I'm going to get in about half an hour's time is some pizza. So you can get pizza that's made with dough that they bring in. So unlike the pizza in the Royal Esplanade, and we're just mixing the sangria real quick. There we go. Unlike the pizza in the Royal Esplanade, this is supposed to be, haven't tried it yet, but I'll insert a picture here. This is supposed to be a higher end pizza with higher end ingredients, New York water in the dough, and everything like that. And that is at the Giovanni's Wine Bar here on deck 5 in the mysterious place. I want to kind of show you where we are again once I get my sangria, because it's really unique where we actually are, because we're kind of where the dining room should generally be, and the dining room is below us, but there's also something a little bit more below us. Thank you, sir. I've got my, oh, let me give you a card. Forgot about that.
Thank you.
So we've got our red sangria right here, and it's got all kinds of fruits and stuff in it. But yeah, I like it when it's made here better than when it's made elsewhere. This is also the highest end bar on the ship. They've got the Louis cognacs and everything like that, and the higher end wines. So if you are a connoisseur, you want to make sure that you stop by here and get your high end drink on. But again, where we are, we're on deck 5. Just slightly above where the actual dining room is. And we can look down into the dining room right now. So this is deck 5. Then we got deck 4 and deck 3. Also by what I call the loneliest shop on board. I've not seen a single person in this shop the entire cruise. AKA the loneliest shop on board. What do they sell in this shop? This shop up here is only high-end watches. I feel very sorry for this gentleman right here, because he's got to sell high-end watches in the day when the watch that most people want who are buying high-end watches is the Apple Watch Ultra. So yeah, feel kind of bad for there being a Cartier, I'm going to destroy the names of these, Cartier, Omega, Hublot, Breitling, Tag Heuer, and Lioness, because guess what? Nobody's buying those anymore. You can come at me. Statistics say I'm right. Nobody's buying high-end watches anymore. Even Rolexes have kind of gone out of style dramatically. Now, we got our wine, and we keep going back. Now, there are no elevators back here. I think that's important. And it's due to the way this ship is actually laid out and designed. There are no elevators back here. But the next thing we've got is actually the future cruise desk, which always fills up on the last day because people always want to book their cruise on the last few days. Something they did, which was interesting, is they gave you more money for booking early, which is kind of smart. If you booked in the first 3 days of the cruise, this is a 6-day cruise, I think you got $50 more for booking early. Now, if you made it to this 40 minutes into the video or so, the next place we're going to talk about is actually called Cafe 270. And Cafe 270 right here is their version of the Central Park Cafe. So essentially, Cafe 270 is their version of the Central Park Cafe. This is open for both breakfast and lunch, and very, very importantly, it is open for lunch on embarkation day. So it's open for lunch the day you get on board the ship. Now, why that's important is it's usually a madhouse up in the Windjammer marketplace. So this is the place that you can go to, unlike the Windjammer, where it'll be a lot quieter. Show you what they have here. They've got salads. I myself am salad intolerant, so I don't eat salad, but you've got some salads, got some fruits, you've got some Kimmel Wreck, you've got some soups, which is probably going to be the same soup for dinner, but we'll see. Got some wraps, which they're actually making, some other wraps, and a great bit of criticism I have is this is a coffee bar that is generally staffed by one employee. The line here is usually miserable. And it's also one of the few places to get Gatorade and other stuff of the sort. But the coffee bar inside a Cafe Promenade, because there's a lot more than just Starbucks there, is usually a pretty miserable experience. Now, Cafe 270 is right next to 270, which is a venue that was made uniquely for this ship. So you'll see 270. So, what is 270? Well, 270 is a multi-purpose venue that they use for a bunch of different things. Now, they do have some stuff that's really unique to here. It is actually a production venue, and they do a production show in here called The Book. The Book uses the entire stage, uses the screens here, uses everything. It's really a technological showcase. The Book is really cool. Got a whole video on The Book.
Tonight. Oh. Oh. Oh, yeah. Oh. Oh.
And then they also do fireworks here on the first night. Virtual fireworks. And that's pretty cool too. And then they've also got something called the 270 experience that shows you what's going on here. But realistically, what this is actually used for, let's go in the boardroom real quick. What this is actually used for, I think there's no one in here. Oop. All right, so what it's actually used for is this venue up here. I've just happened to go into the boardroom. Hasn't been the whole cruise. I have not been the whole cruise, which seems to be a conference room. But this venue up here, what it's actually used for, it's used as a replacement for the Royal Promenade. They do all their parties, their 60s, their 70s party, all their dance parties, everything that they would do on the Royal Promenade, they're doing up here in 270. So again, you've got a production show, which you do have to book, called The Book. Kind of funny. You've got some dance parties. They did the 70s dance party here last night. You've also got some other events like that are available, and you've got the 270 experience. Now, like I said, they have 6 screens, 100-inch LCD screens that are mounted on robots. It's really a technological spectacle, and they have 18 short throw projectors, which are running the entire background. 18 or 24, I can't remember the exact number. 18 or 24 projectors that are running this entire backdrop. This is a $37 million room just to design. And right now they're doing Harry Potter trivia.
So 2 in total for 12. We're moving on to question number 13.
But has some great
What are
views of the back of the ship.
main drinks in the story? Now, if you wrote down
Yep.
2, that is a point, and if you wrote 3, that is 2 full points. So
So.
we have pumpkin juice.
Yep.
We have butterbeer.
Harry Potter
and
trivia.
We have fire whiskey.
Yep. And then you've also got back here, you've got, believe it or not,
Sorry?
the library. So you got the library back here. This is my first time actually coming up here. So yes, we're in the age of Kindles and other stuff like that. And there was a discussion back in the day that they were going to have Kindles on all these ships and not have printed books anymore. And you could just check out a Kindle, but didn't really use that there. But yeah, you got puzzle room, other stuff of the sorts like that. Unavailable. Thanks for keeping your distance. So we're going to go down. I'm just going to show you the back real quick. Down on deck 5. We're on about deck 5.5 right now. Like I said, there are no elevators back here. So they even have a special handicapped elevator that gives you a ride down. So like I said, they got a special handicapped elevator. I'm not sure. I don't want to actually go in there. So we're going to go down and we're going to see, because this is kind of the replacement for the diving show venue on the Oasis or Allure class. So this is where the diving show would be outside. It's really quite beautiful. The diving show, the boardwalk, everything like that would generally be right here. But you'll see we've got 270. And you've got the absolute back of the boat.
I told you that there are 2 optimal answers for this one. The one from the books, which is worth 1 point, and the one from the books is worth 1 point, and the one from the books is worth 3. So, according to the books,
So we're going to be quiet for a minute while we walk out.
What are your answers? Sorry? Okay, so if you wrote down, because you loved Lily, give yourself a point. Give yourself a point because it's true. It's partially true. And it's from the movies. But what they didn't put in the movies, which is very, very, it's a shame, is that he felt guilty for her death. And the reason is that...
All right. So yeah, like I said, Cafe 270, my hand is freezing right now. Well, Venue 270, Cafe 270 in the back of the ship are kind of like Central Park and the boardwalk area combined. No, let's be honest, there is no carousel here. So you're not going to be riding a carousel around. There is no carousel on board the ship. But they do have a really cool show back in in Venue 270. They've got a really cool show. But we're walking back. Again, well, walking forward from the aft of deck 5 all the way back towards the midship again, and back by the area where the high-end watches are that really make me question why does this store even exist when Royal Caribbean actually has a license to sell the Apple Watch Ultra? Really makes you wonder why these stores exist. And the real answer is because they've got contracts with third-party vendors that want to actually sell watches and things of the sort. Now, our next stop, we are going to go stop by the cabin. I want to show you some really unique things about the cabin, how you can actually use your phone to open the cabin door. You can use your tap key to open the cabin door, a little tour of the cabin, and everything of that sort. But let's talk now, before we get to the cabin, let's talk about the elevators. The elevators right here are the absolute worst thing. Well, tied with the Wi-Fi, but the Wi-Fi can be fixed with, well, helped a little bit with Starlink. The elevators are the absolute worst thing on this ship. So we've got the absolute worst thing on the ship, which are the elevators, which you don't press the buttons. You just kind of come towards them. They kind of remind me, if you've ever seen the Borat movie, the Borat movie, they had the Shabbat-avator, which you press every button and then you see what happens. So if I click down right here, you don't actually have to touch it. That elevator opens. This is the fastest I've gotten an elevator the whole time. But you see, you've got this right here. And all you do is you'll hover over a button to press it. So say you want to go to 2, it's going to go down to 2. But here's the worst thing. Say you got an elevator full of people. And since these buttons are not pressable, someone just happens to get pushed against the wall. Well, these are, I don't want to ride that elevator. These are sensors, and the sensors will automatically get tripped, and it will press every single button because they are no touch buttons. You just hover in front of them. So they all set off, and yes, I was just a bad child. I just turned all the elevator buttons on. I apologize. But yeah, so how do you fix this? Well, what you've got to do is you've got to turn those buttons off completely. The buttons are so bad, you have to turn them off completely. And what you do instead is, on some high-end hotels, what they will do is they will have a button outside of the elevator that'll say what deck are you going to. It'll assign a specific elevator to you, and that elevator will take you to that deck. Why this needs to be done, why it needs 100% to be done, is there are only 2 banks of elevators. There being 2 banks of elevators, people leaning on the elevators, everything like that. You just saw me lean on the elevators. Saw that happen. Happens 1 out of every 3 times you get in the elevator, all the buttons are pressed because someone mistakenly leaned against the elevator. And that's just the way it is. And we happen to be on deck 3 right now this is the come at a fixed time dinner. So 5:15, which is super early, and then 8 o'clock in the main dining room. Do have these beautiful, really cool flowers right here. And again, right in front of us is the casino. So we're not going to go into the casino, but there's a casino. They got tournaments, they got everything like that. But I think you got to remember, unless you are playing Texas Hold'em, which is the game I like to play on cruise ships, unless you are playing Texas Hold'em, where yes, they do take a rake, so they are essentially winning. But unless you're playing Texas Hold'em, or you're playing against other people, the house always wins. Don't go in the casino. Don't go in the casino. Don't go in the casino. Now, I know I've said I like Carnival for their casino because it gets you free cruises, because it does. Royal Caribbean, if you play the same amount of money, you're not going to get what you're getting on Carnival. Carnival's a great way to get free cruises there. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the terrible elevators up to deck 12, and I'm going to have Cabin Richard show you a bit of what's going on in the cabin, which is 12192 on the Quantum of the Seas. Not the Quantum, sorry. The Odyssey of the Seas. It's a Quantum Plus class. I'm going to have Richard show you kind of what's going on in the room, and then we're going to go up towards the pool deck, the SeaPlex, the skydiving, and everything of the sort. So I just pressed the elevator button. Pray for me. Room Richard, take over from here. Hey there, Ship Tour Richard. This is Cabin Tour Richard, and I'm coming to you from Deck 12, cabin number 192. This is on the Odyssey of the Seas, and there's two different ways to get into your cabin. We're going to do a quick tour around the cabin, but there's two different ways to get in your cabin. There's a traditional way with a cabin key. Where I can go like that. Ta-da, open the cabin. And then there's the way that doesn't work nearly as well. I'm going to put the key away so you can kind of see. And it's using the Royal Caribbean app. So you can install a digital room key on here. We are locked, we're unlocked right now. That actually did work. But you just go ahead, you click right here, you click key. It'll download a digital key. And then I'm not putting my key anywhere near here. I just want to go like this. Come on. This is why I say it's the less reliable way to do things. Go like that. Hope, pray, other things like that. And my phone is fully up to date and everything like that. So, yeah. You can kind of see. And if you do put the key right here, it runs an Apple Pay transaction. Don't know exactly what that's going to cost you, but it is actually open, so it does actually eventually work. So this is a standard balcony cabin. And you'll see right here, we've got the beds, we've got them divided. Something really, really useful is they do actually have a plug outlet right next to the bed, which is something you don't see on a lot of ships, is a plug outlet right there. In the cabin, there is a huge, huge amount of storage. This is the last day of the cruise, so most of the stuff's packed up, and to be honest, we didn't really use this closet anyway. And you've got storage over the bed. It's actually very reminiscent of the Edge class on Celebrity Cruises. This interior, kind of the Nate Berkus interior, if you're familiar with the Edge class from Celebrity. You've also got a reasonably sized bathroom. I am a bigger guy. This shower works. Nothing crazy, but pretty reasonably sized. You don't have to do funky maneuvers to sit on the toilet and everything like that. I will put of note, let's go in the shower. See, plenty of room. Bigger guy, hi! I will put of note that they only have one soap thing here, which is both hair and body wash. So beware, hair and body wash in one thing. Pretty normal cabin, nothing crazy out of the ordinary other than just the gigantic amount of storage you have. You've got that plug right there. You don't have any plugs on this side of the bed. And you've got two plugs right here. Normal traditional American outlets. And two USB-A plugs right there. This is my normal setup for a cruise. It's my normal sofa for a cruise. If you are in a multi-person cabin, meaning more than two people, you'll be able to take this out as a sofa. But there's something on this ship that I've never seen on any ship before. If you are familiar, and you do have a balcony, you can go out on the balcony, but when you go out on the balcony, door must be locked for air conditioning to operate. So what that means is, you actually need two people in the cabin to use the balcony and not get locked out, because the air goes off when you leave the balcony unlocked. This is something I've only ever seen on this ship, never seen anywhere else. You'll see that we've got, when it's up, it's locked. And it'll show the temperature works when it's locked and up. And when it's down, it's going to get warmer in the cabin. Well, it's going to get warmer in the cabin in the Caribbean. And in the Med, the season they sail in the Med. Maybe not during Alaska will it get warmer, but here's the coolest thing. So, I go outside. It's a little thing, but it's something I've never seen on a ship before. Hey, look, day at sea, so pretty. But here's the coolest thing. I can actually lock it from the outside and leave the air conditioner on without needing another person in the cabin in order to assist with turning the air conditioner off. Mind-blowing, amazing, simple, I know. And if you do have two cabins that are next to each other, the cool thing is they do have the ability to actually open up this partition right here. And depending on where you are on the ship, you see we've got some bulkheads right there and there. So our cabin opens a little bit differently than these, but they've got a little door, swings open right here. And you can connect the cabins. And you've got one over here that connects. So if you have a whole bunch of cabins traveling together, You know what we call that? We call that party time. Richard on the ship, back to you as we're going up, 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 up. We're gonna take a ride up to the top decks. Hey, thanks, Cabin Richard, and I'm on deck 12 forward, and deck 12 and 13 forward, kind of really interesting points on this ship because that's where they keep the children. And they keep the children far away from the adults, and I like that they keep the children far away from the adults. I will tell you, you know, my favorite cruise line until its last sailing that I went on was actually Virgin Voyages, and it's mainly because there's no children, but I will tell you, here on this ship, the adults are pressing the elevator buttons by mistake all the time. Just when they're getting into a crowded elevator, that's how it is. But yeah, this is the kids program. We're just gonna peek in as much as we can. It's on deck 12 forward and deck 13 forward. Yes, this ship does have a deck 13, and look, we've got barnacle treasures and Xbox games, and this is Adventure Ocean for the little ones right here on deck 12 forward. Now, we are not going to deal with elevators for the rest of this fun tour. So I want to go ahead and, yes, we're going to take the stairs. So we are on the forward deck. We're on deck 12 forward. We're going to take a walk up to deck 13 forward, deck 14 forward, and we're going to go to the place. It's actually kind of funny positioning. We're going from where the kids are to where the kids are not allowed. So 12, 13, and deck 14 is actually the Solarium Bistro. So, Solarium Bistro. The kids, I believe, are allowed in the Solarium Bistro, but not allowed in the Solarium itself. So here's the Solarium Bistro, which is open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Breakfast and lunch are included. Very similar food to the Windjammer, and dinner is an upcharge specialty dining opportunity. So if we go into the Solarium Bistro right here, just quieter. So I'm going to be quieter. But it's got pretty much the same kind of food that you get in the Windjammer. Just a slight bit healthier overall in theory. So let's take a look at the food up in the Solarium Bistro. And from the bistro, we're going to go to the actual solarium, which is the adults-only quiet area on board. So we're going to be a little bit quieter here. This is an indoor area for 16 years and older adults. They've got pools, they've got hot tubs, and it's all actually indoors on this ship. So we're going to do a quick little walk around. What I do find funny is Royal Caribbean has lifeguards everywhere, including in the adults only pool. I thought they were just for kids, but it's probably a liability thing in the scheme of things. Let's grab a beer real quick. Oh, you get a Stella?
Stella?
So we'll grab a beer really quick in the adult quiet area. Maybe. There we go. And we are on the pool deck, so you can't have glass on the pool deck. That's why they gotta transfer it over to a plastic tumbler right here. Again, all of this is included if you do have the beverage package. The only thing not included is Starbucks. Oops. Took that all down in one gulp. Thank you, sir. All right. We're gonna get out of the quiet adult room, except for that weird, that's a statue right there. Now we're gonna go out to the main pool deck. Now remember, when surfaces are wet, they may be slippery. So yeah, this is for the 16 years and older crowd, not 18, not 21, 16. I guess they think you can behave by the time you're 16. We just came out of the Solarium Bistro. And we're gonna go out to the main pool deck now. Now the main pool deck, we can actually be quite a bit louder, give you an idea of what's actually going on here. There we go. So, we are out at the main pool deck. We can talk quite a bit more now that we're at the main pool deck. There are a few pools on board. There is a gigantic screen. And yes, on the main pool deck, you will see kids. I'm sorry, this is not an adults-only cruise. You will see kids on the main pool deck. This is kind of the family pool. This is where they've got a giant screen to do outdoor movies and other things of the sort. And we're gonna take a walk over to the other pool here, which is the louder, busier, noisier pool in the scheme of things, with a splash pad and everything like that. I will tell you there are some very tiny ones, but there are actually no large slides on board the Odyssey of the Seas. And one of the main reasons there are no large slides is literally because of the North Star, which we will get to in a moment's time. But I think there's a sexiest man or sexy dance or belly flop or, officers versus guests pool volleyball. Yep. Officers versus guests pool volleyball is what's going on right now. With some really kind of funky looking chairs right there. But like I said, there's one, there's the North Star up there, actually hanging off the side of the ship right now. So you've got the North Star hanging off the side of the ship. We did actually get a chance to ride the North Star a bit earlier in the cruise. And I'll insert some footage of the North Star right here.
Been on before? Anyone been on before? No? Alright, so my name's Max. If you have any questions, let me know. Just watch your heads on the TVs. It does get a little bit windy, hold on to the railings. Feel free to ask me any questions or anything. If you need any help with any photos, I'm more than happy to help. But enjoy the Labadee view. We'll be going 300 feet above the sea level, and it's just going to twist up the top to give you some nice views.
But here is the kids pool right here, and there is a tiny slide that goes a couple feet. But right here, this slide right here is the largest slide on the Odyssey of the Seas. So you'll see, the ship was built in 2021, the newest of the Odyssey class by Meyer Werft in Papenburg, Germany. All right,
Michael and Gina.
Inside. All right, so now we're inside, and this is another of the upcharge restaurants that they have on board. This is the other side of the Japanese restaurant. This is the Teppanyaki. This is where they cook at the table in front of you. My favorite teppanyaki is actually not on a cruise ship. See if the teppanyaki is going on right now? No. I don't know how it is. Yeah. So that's where they cook the food right in front of you. My favorite teppanyaki is not on a cruise ship. It's actually a place called Kobe. There's a couple of them right inside or outside of Orlando, Florida. But let's go ahead and let's talk about other places you can eat lunch. And every place we've really talked about that you can eat lunch, other than the really quick pizza place, has a charge to it so far. These are your free locations to eat lunch. You've got the pizza place, you've got Cafe Promenade, but then you've also got El Loco Fresh, which is the Mexican restaurant where you can get tacos and nachos and other things of the sort. This is out on the pool deck, on deck 14. You'll see El Loco Fresh. Tacos, quesadillas, burritos, and more tacos. And yes, they've got a salsa bar. And a gigantic rubber ducky right here.
Let's see what the
They've got.
officers can do with this one.
Now, next up we're going into the buffet, the Windjammer Marketplace. And this is the buffet. This is the Lido. This is whatever you'd want to call it on all the other ships. Ocean View. And Carnival calls it the Lido deck. All of them call it different names, but it's the buffet upstairs. This is where most people go for breakfast and for lunch. But again, if you're going to go for breakfast, the best breakfast on board that's included is actually in Cafe 270. They've got sandwiches like their version of an Egg McMuffin, their version of a croissant witch, their version of all kinds of different things. But you've also got another restaurant up here. We were talking about earlier in the video, about an hour ago, we were talking about suites. We're talking about the segregation they do in suites, and they even have different food for the suite customers. So it's a ship-in-ship concept. So this is called the Coastal Kitchen. It's open for higher-end suites for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? And Pinnacle Club members. And then the junior suites, just for dinner, correct? So the junior suites for dinner. And they've got quite a more interesting menu than you would have on other ships. But we are going now into, well, on the rest of the ship, we're going now into the Windjammer Cafe, which is the buffet on board. And remember, there's something you all need to know. If you want to have that healthy glow, wash your hands. It's easy to do. It's easier when you only have two, because it's generally sung by an octopus. And for some reason, when I worked for Celebrity for 10 years, I actually know that song. And that was a song to prevent gastrointestinal illness, which is why the buttons in the elevators were no-touch buttons. Had nothing to do with the illness that we had a few years back. But let's go, the last few years. So we got the lunch kind of thing right here. Big all set up for lunch. And then you've also got, if you do have any beverage package, be it the soda, the refreshment, or the alcohol package, you get a mug. And you can use the mug on these machines. And I don't think it's going to do anything for me because I don't have my mug. But the mug has a little chip in it, and you use it on these machines. What's interesting is all of these machines, royal people, if you're watching this, all of these machines are scheduled to go out of service for cleaning right as the bars close at 2 or 3 in the morning. So everybody goes with their cups, and nobody can use them because all the machines are set to go for maintenance at 2, 3 in the morning. If you can, program it for like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning when no one's up, and then it'll work, because I've come to these machines every night when the bars have closed, and they've all been in cleaning and maintenance mode, and I've got some pictures of them being in cleaning and maintenance mode. But yeah, this is the buffet. Give you a little idea of the buffet. That is beef top round, pork leg, whole chicken. He's got some peppers going right by. Got a whole bunch of interesting little things right here. Salads, healthy stuff. A stir fry station where they're making you stir fry from scratch there with all the different ingredients and everything you potentially want right there. But yeah, this is the buffet. This is the included option for lunch. You've got this, and you got the Mexican place, you got pizza, you got Cafe Promenade, and you've got the 270. At all of those, if you don't want to pay for lunch at, say, the wine bar, or go to Wonderland, go to the Teppanyaki as we saw, go to any of the upcharge restaurants, which are all open conveniently for lunch on sea days because money's money, this is the place that you'd go. Gets pretty busy, but I will tell you, Royal knows how to handle a crowd. Unlike a line that rhymes with sturgeon, starts with a V, Royal can handle a full ship. This ship is nearly full right now. I will tell you, I have my little cheat sheet from earlier. full capacity on this ship, full capacity, is 5,622 guests. We're at 4,400 right now. Now, it is 4,198 guests with double occupancy, but there's a lot of rooms that sleep more than 2 people. So in those rooms that sleep more than 2 people, you can obviously fit more than 2 people. So we're at 4,400 this cruise. Full is 5,622. Not nearly as big as Oasis class, just 1,000 or 2 shy of Oasis class, but pretty full this sailing overall. Now, we talked about the fact that we've got these elevators here. And this is the midship elevators right here. They'll call them the aft elevators, but they're really not aft. And why it's not possible to do aft, why it's not possible to do aft elevators at all, is where we're about to head. This is a unique venue. Now, what you'll notice is, if you're used to Oasis, Allure, even some of the older ships, they all had ice skating rinks. The Quantum class does not have an ice skating rink, and hey, here's a great look at the pool right here, without all the noise. Look at that. Really cool look at the pool. You can see the North Star down, everything like that. You saw that goes right over the ship, like we were saying earlier. But they've got something really kind of cool here. Kind of unique, and it makes it so you can't really put a back set of elevators in this ship. There is a handicapped elevator in this room, which I'll show you where that handicapped elevator will be. But this is actually on deck 15. It is called the SeaPlex. And the SeaPlex is kind of like, imagine if you were to take the ice skating rink that was on Oasis, Allure, the other ones in the sort, move it up to the back of the ship. Well, it's exactly what we got right here. This is the SeaPlex. And it's like the ice skating rink has been moved up to the back of the ship. It's a giant area, giant multi-use court here. And this is the primary reason you can't have aft elevators on this ship, because this takes up a lot of the space here. So you'll see we've got a whole sports court here. This is also used for bumper cars. So you see we've got bumper cars. They have very limited hours to do bumper cars, because when the bumper cars are parked here, they actually charge. So it's kind of cool. You got a bumper car garage, and when the bumper cars are parked here, they actually charge their power up. Now, to get to the next place, there's no apparent elevators, but on this ship only, the Odyssey of the Seas, they've actually put Playmakers, which is the pub, well, not the pub, the sports bar more than anything else. We were in the pub earlier, which is the sports bar. They put it directly above where they do all the sports. Genius positioning. As of note, okay. As of note, they're closing it right now. But they don't have Johnny Rockets on this ship. So they do not have a Johnny Rockets, but what's really cool is they even protect you from flying balls and stuff like that. But this is Playmakers. This is the sports bar. Obviously, it is a sports bar. And being a sports bar, they have a whole bunch of different draft beers, and they also have food for sale. Now, I will tell you, I had it the other day on cruise ships. On cruise ships specifically, this is the best chicken wings that I've ever had on a cruise ship. So I highly recommend. I think it's like $10 for 12 wings. It's not bad. Great, big, fried, delicious wings, and got some jalapeno poppers as well. As I was saying, on cruise ships, best wings I've ever had on a cruise ship, and probably second best I've ever had overall. So that's a pretty big step right there. But yeah, this is actually deck 16, directly above deck 15. Oh, they're going to do a dodgeball competition. So they use us for the quest, they use it for dodgeball competitions, they use it for all those other things like that. And it's also, around here, is the arcade. We sanitize before and after game time. And we've got some games. Oh my god, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen. It literally says activate Windows, because they've not activated Windows on any of these computers. Oh good god. You gotta pay $2 to play, which we're not gonna do. But literally this is not a mistake. every single one of these machines actually says activate windows, except for the one that someone kicked in. Are they kicking in? Yeah. Except for the one that someone actually broke. I think what's funny, we were talking about the elevators. I took an elevator ride out to my cabin to give you that cabin tour. Someone actually punched in the elevator, and I have a picture of the punched in elevator button. Oh, that's like a move around statement thing. I have a picture of the punched in elevator thing because people get so frustrated with the elevators that they've literally and actually punched the elevators, which is pretty interesting. Now, this whole area up here supports more than just the SeaPlex. Believe it or not, there's actually rock climbing, skydiving, jumping, and other stuff like that, which I'm going to show you in a couple minutes as we get down to it. So we're going to take these stairs down. Again, we're going from deck 16 down to deck 15. And right down here, there's actually a virtual reality experience, which is called Zone Zero. And what this is a, you put on a VR, you put on an HP computer as your backpack and an HTC Vive, and there's a physical area you actually interact with, and there's physical props that you can touch. It's pirate themed, physical props that you can touch that actually interact with the world. There's 4 players at a time. And important, I guess this is something we haven't really talked about yet. If you want to do any of these activities, the skydiving, the North Star, the other things like that, skydiving and North Star have free sessions. Those open at 4 p.m. on the first day, on the day you get on board. If you do not book them at 4 p.m. on the day you get on board, by about 4:30, everything's sold out. Now the, what are they called? The bumper cars. There is no way to sign up for the bumper cars. So the only way to do the bumper cars is to wait in line. Every time I've been up here, there's been a line. We've got one more bumper car session this cruise. I'm not talking about a normal line. I'm talking about like an hour line just to ride the bumper cars, because it's not something you can reserve or book on the app or anything like that. But that Zone Zero is a VR experience which is untethered, so you actually wear the computer on your back and you walk around with a computer on your back. You can see everything going on. Now, we are going outside. We're going to the back of the boat. We're going to kind of where they'd have the rock climbing wall and other stuff like that. And I want to show you some of the last things they've got on board in our last few minutes. Again, 4 p.m. on embarkation day. If you want to book the day you get on, if you want to book any of the experiences that are free, be it the skydiving or the North Star, you want to book those because those fill up almost instantly after 4 p.m. on embarkation day, which I like because they wait for most people to get on board and then they open it. This is the giant catchu. It's a cat statue, so I call it a catchu. And then you've got the rock climbing wall right here. Again, this would be much lower on Oasis class. This would be down by the water show on the Oasis class, by the diving show. But this is really why they don't have aft elevators. It's because the way this has been built doesn't really allow for an aft elevator system with that big open area, and we keep walking back and back and back, and there's nowhere to actually put elevators to get up here. So, and along with that 270, if you remember that big area that was 270 downstairs, there was nowhere to put elevators in there because that spanned 2 floors. That was a restaurant, that was everything like that. So that's why there are no aft elevators. Something unique to this class of ship, though, is Ripcord by iFly. That is actually a skydiving simulator. I myself would never go skydiving, even simulated skydiving, so I let my family go for me. And we're going to see if there's actually people skydiving in a second. But you've also got, along with the skydiving simulator, you've got a surfing simulator called the FlowRider. So you'll see the FlowRider right here. And let's take a look at the FlowRider. And yes, there are people on the FlowRider right now. So you'll see people right here on the FlowRider. They do only have one FlowRider here, unlike the Oasis class, which has 2 FlowRiders. So the flow capacity is a little bit lower on the Quantum class for the FlowRider than it is on the Oasis or Allure. But interestingly, you've got your skydiving simulator up here. Now, it's not staffed right now, but this is run and owned by iFly, and it's a big, giant tube that you actually skydive in. Let's take a look down. You'll see, kind of interesting. Big, giant tube. I'll insert some video here so you can see the skydiving instructor skydiving. Should be locked. Yep, we're gonna go in anyway. But you'll see you actually have a driver. You have someone that changes the airflow based on the weight of people that are in the tunnel and they're flying. Again, we'll get the FlowRider once more from the top. There we go. And then we've got the sky jump, which is a little bouncing thing for the sky pad, which is a little bouncing thing for the kids. So let's go ahead, let's head down the stairs out of the music and we'll wrap everything up. So again, other than the Wi-Fi, I know it's strange to say, other than the Wi-Fi and the elevator buttons and one night at dinner that was kind of meh, but that's going to happen anywhere, I really don't have any complaints about this ship, which is really weird. I think Royal Caribbean knocked it out of the park with this ship. What they did is they built something that's very close to the Oasis, but also very close, if not identical, to a traditional cruising experience. They had 2 great production shows. They've had activities. You haven't had to make reservations except for one show. It's actually really, really phenomenal. I'm gonna say nothing ever gets a 10 out of 10, but this is about a 9 out of 10 in reality. 8.5 to 9 out of 10. And you know, kind of assuming in there, they told me they're moving to Starlink soon. Here's a bit of the bouncy jumpy zone. You know, kind of assuming in there that they're going to be switching to Starlink sooner rather than later for the connectivity. But I guess here's the final verdict. The only place we didn't visit is the fitness center. I don't really think that belongs on a cruise ship. It's kind of interesting. You know, here's the final verdict, and we're giving the final verdict in a funny place because one of the cruise activities that no one thinks about anymore, that's like an OG cruise activity, like was on the Titanic OG cruise activity, is shuffleboard. And we'll finish this review on of all places, on the shuffleboard court. I have to say, out of all the ships I've sailed on in the post-illness era, and I've sailed on Carnival, sailed on Virgin 7 times. Sailed on a couple different classes of ships. If you look back, you'll see a couple Carnival, both the Virgin ships. I have to say this is actually my favorite out of all of them as a full package experience. Yes, I can't get a fillet for lunch every day like I can on Virgin. No, I can't pay $100 to go on a cruise like I can on a Carnival cruise when I spend a little bit of money in the casino. But here's the thing. Overall, in the spectrum of things, it's a good value. Good value for money. You just have to make sure that, again, that 4 o'clock, if you want to do any of these things and you don't want to pay a premium, like the skydiving, like the North Star, or any of that, you want to make sure at 4 o'clock on your first day, you get that all booked. And looks like dodgeball is about to start in the SeaPlex. I'm a rather large target, so probably not the best person to play dodgeball. But I have to say, overall, I really like the Odyssey of the Seas and the Quantum Plus class of ships. This is Richard with the tour, review, highlights, secrets, stuff. If you enjoyed or if you got any questions, I got a lot more video than I'm showing in this video. Leave a comment below. Again, I like to give you my perspective, having worked on ships and within this company for 7 years. I like to give you some perspectives on everything that's going on in the cruising industry, and I really do love the Quantum class of ships. That's cool, guys. You want to be in it? Say hey.
Hi.
I really do love the Quantum. Awesome. Really do love the Quantum class of ships, and I want to remind you that when you wear no pants, and got a whole bunch of people that have seen the videos before. Yep, no pants profits. No pants profits. Yep. When you wear no pants profits. Yep. Sorry, I said the name so many times. When you wear no pants and you're on a cruise and you're near the pool deck, you've only got one thing left to lose. You know what that is? That's your shirt. Have a great one from the Odyssey of the Seas. This is Richard saying, again, when you wear no pants, you got nothing to lose but your shirt. Have a great one. Bye.